Nitrogen loss in cornfields can result in a loss of time, money, and resources. According to Leonardo Bastos, a UNL graduate research assistant of agronomy, management practices and environmental conditions are two factors for nitrogen loss in corn production. Leonardo says that by selecting a nitrogen fertilizer stabilizer, farmers are able to decrease the impact of unpredictable weather. We recently sat down with Leonardo to learn more about the different nitrogen fertilizer stabilizers.
So nitrogen is a very important nutrient for plant growth and development. It is involved it's a building block of amino acids, which are very important for enzymes and proteins that play many different roles in the plant. And one of the compounds that nitrogen is a part of is chlorophyll, which is a compound that's responsible for photosynthesis in plants. And so if a plant is well supplied with nitrogen, it will be producing chlorophyll at its potential and performing photosynthesis at its potential if no other nutrient is limiting. And so if we see a very well fed plant with nitrogen, it would be a dark green color, and then we can tell that from a nitrogen deficient plant, which would be a lighter green, and that's how you can visually tell that nitrogen is really being deficient in the plant or sufficient.
According to Leonardo's recent Crop Watch article titled Nitrogen Fertilizer Stabilizers in Corn, he says that by adding nitrogen fertilizer to a corn crop, a farmer is able to achieve the high demand of about 1.2 pounds of nitrogen that is needed to produce a bushel of corn. However, due to fertilizer management practices and environmental conditions, there is still a possibility of nitrogen loss.
Nitrogen losses occur mostly when we have an excess of nitrogen in the soil and the demand by the plants are not there quite yet. So usually if we apply nitrogen too early in relation to when the plants need it, nitrogen will be in the soil for a longer time, and that coupled with specific weather patterns can drive nitrogen losses.
To help decrease the chances of nitrogen loss, Leonardo recommends farmers use one of three types of nitrogen fertilizer stabilizers, such as nitrification inhibitors, urease inhibitors, and slow-release coated fertilizers.
So when a farmer is deciding whether or not to use a nitrogen fertilizer stabilizer and also what type, the things that he or she should consider is their overall management, and specifically when it comes to their nitrogen management. So when are they applying nitrogen, what source they're using, what rate they're using. So things that really impact the overall management for their crop, and also what weather patterns they may expect from given all those other management choices that they have. So for example, a farmer that is applying anhydrous ammonia in the fall may be at a higher risk of losing nitrogen than a farmer that applies at planting or even side dress. And so those things are very important to keep in mind. And we know that, coupled with all of those management decisions, there's also weather, and weather is one of the things that we cannot control. And so we could think of using a stabilizer as a way of protecting your nitrogen. However, you don't really know that if you are going to need that or not. And so, for a nitrification inhibitor, if you expect that your soil may be a high risk of loss to denitrification or nitrate leaching, using a nitrification inhibitor could help you reduce those losses. And if those losses actually do occur during the growing season and they are severe enough to limit nitrogen supply to the crop, you will likely have a positive impact on grain yield. When we talk about urease inhibitors, it's mostly you will likely see a response to that inhibitor if you're applying urea-based fertilizer on the soil surface, and especially if you have high residue conditions, high pH soil, and when you're not expecting to have an incorporation event following, and that could be either by mechanical incorporation or through rainfall. So if you're not tilling your soil and you're applying urea-based fertilizer on top of the soil surface, and you don't expect to have rainfall within that 5-day period after application, you could be that could be a very important time to use urease inhibitor. And the coated fertilizers, they can be very beneficial if you are under any type of loss situation, and especially if you're expecting high variability in weather patterns. And so if that type of situation is what you're expecting, then using a coated urea fertilizer could also be very important in protecting it from being readily available in the soil, and that way from protecting it from multiple different types of losses.